This is an important topic. In today's conversation, I want to talk to you about bank personal lines of credit for fair credit. How do you get approved for a big line fast and easy? Don't go anywhere. You're going to love today's conversation, I guarantee you. Welcome back, folks, to another edition of the Awesome Sweetie Kiwi Show. How are you today? I hope you are doing fantastic. I'm doing marvelous, if you had to ask me. If you are doing as great as I am, go grab a cup of coffee or tea or vodka. Now let's roll. In today's conversation, I want to talk to you about bank personal lines of credit for fair credit. How do you get approved for a big line fast and easy? So the scenario is very simple. You have fair credit and you're trying to get a personal line of credit from a big traditional bank, big national bank, okay? First thing you need to do is to prepare. Preparation is very important, okay? It's really important to analyze your situation. You want to review your credit. This is important. You want to shop around and compare lenders. I don't care if you're currently with Bank of America. You want to shop around if Wells Fargo, PNC, US Bank, or any other bank is offering a better line of credit, okay? I mean, on this show, we always talk about establishing a multi-product relationship. That's true. But if your bank is now offering you something portable, something interesting, you want to shop around. It's very important. And as you shop around, please gather your necessary information and documentation. Don't tell me, well, I was surprised because they asked me this and I didn't have it. Come on, boss. No. You really want to prepare. You want to gather the necessary information. And the necessary information, I'm talking about what? Your bank statements, your tax returns, anything that can talk about your financial stability or your net worth, your assets, your liabilities. You want to gather that documentation and you want to fill out the application. Now, when we talk about preparation, we are talking about making sure that you decide beforehand whether you want to go to a branch or you want to have a conversation on the phone or you want to go online. Our preference on this show is if you want to get a large personal line of credit from a bank, with a fair credit, you want to go to a branch. You want to sit down with someone. You want to have a conversation where you can explain the context within which you are asking for the loan, okay? Don't try to do things randomly. No, okay? Money. One thing for sure is that if you want to get money, you want to get the proper line of credit, you need to prepare, okay? Review your credit, shop around and compare lenders, gather the necessary information and documentation, and fill out and think about how do you want to fill out the application. Step number 2, you need to understand the basics. So everybody just gets up and says, I want to get a personal line of credit. But do you know what a line of credit is? It's important. We need to get this information clear in everybody's mind. So what is a personal line of credit? So a personal line of credit is basically like a credit card, okay? This is money that you can borrow, repay, and then borrow again. So that means that that's what people call it, a revolving line of credit. In other words, the money is always there, and as long as you pay it, you should be able to get it. You can tap into it. The thing is that sometimes you have unsecured lines of credit and you have secure lines of credit. In some cases, the bank might ask you to secure the line of credit. And in that case, they can ask you to provide collateral such as your home or your bank savings account or certificate of deposits, okay? Now, be very careful here, though, okay? If you are saving for a rainy day or an emergency fund, you don't want to pledge those funds for a secure line of credit because this will not be a good strategy when we talk about liquidity management. So be very careful here, though. And one thing you need to understand is that when we talk about a line of credit, we are talking about the collateral if needed. We are also talking about the process. In other words, you basically borrow, repay, and then borrow again. But it's important to understand that there are a few phases, if you will. So we have the draw period. So this is the period. This could be 1 year, 2 years, or 5 years. That's the period that the bank actually grants you. Okay, so after the draw period ends, you will start the repayment period in which you will start paying off the full balance and any accrued interest. Normally, during the draw period, you're only paying interest. That's kind of cool, but hey, listen, be very careful here because those interest amounts add up, and you're probably thinking, oh, this is a very low amount, but you are still on the hook for the principal amount. So be very careful about how you draw the money and how you have thought about your repayment strategy. So you have the draw period, you have the interest accrual. As I said, interest charges begin to accrue when you start withdrawing money. Okay, and think about the interest rate type. So personal lines of credit tend to have a variable APR with an initial rate that is based on your credit worthiness. So pay attention to those criteria. Big decision time, boss. I want you to talk to me right now. Have you written down what I just told you? If you're considering a personal line of credit, you better write it down. You better write down your the draw period, the interest accrual, the interest rate type, and what kind of collateral you want to pledge in case you are looking for a secured line of credit. The third step I want you to take right now is to look to shop for lenders. Okay, when we talk about personal line of credit for fair credit, there are not a lot. You don't find a lot of lenders who just sitting around and say, you know what, I want to lend to people with fair credit. No, the market is it's more like an oligopoly. You don't have a lot of players. Certainly, you don't have the big players. You don't have Chase. You don't have Bank of America. They're out of there. You know, they got burned a long time ago with the 2008 crisis. So now they're just out of the individual lending space, if you will. So nowadays you have strong players also, but they are more like I would say regional players, or I mean national players. You can say that. So first one is PNC. So when we talk about personal line of credit for fair credit, we are talking about PNC. Big player here, big player. With PNC, they will give you an unsecured line of credit that goes from $1,000 to $25,000. But if you are in California, the maximum line amount is $5,000. Okay, and the minimum draw amount here is $50, and they're not asking for any collateral. So this is unsecured, and the rate is decent. Okay, and there is no prepayment penalty. This is important, and what we love with PNC is that the draw period. If you remember earlier, I was talking to you about draw period. The draw period is continuous. This is really good. In other words, you can draw as much as you need. And what we love with PNC is that they have a service that caters to service members. This is really good. And their dependents. This is really good. They call it the Service Members Civil Relief Acts Organization. Department, if you will. And they have a phone number, 844-PNC SCRA. This is really good. 844-762-7272. We love it whenever we see a bank taking care of our soldiers. This is really good, and their families. This is really good. And so that's for PNC. And then you have U.S. Bank, another big player here. With U.S. Bank, you can get an unsecured line of credit up to $25,000. Now, U.S. Bank wants you to have a FICO score of 680 or above, but if you have the right relationship, they will actually take care of you, even if you have fair credit. Not a problem at all. And what we love with U.S. Bank is that they have a strong customer service, and this is the kind of bank you want to consider for a long-term relationship with. Okay, they're really responsive. They are generous in their loan amount as long as you have the right relationship with them. This is important, folks. And the third bank I want to talk to you about is a Truist. Truist actually is a great player also. So when you think about Truist, I want you to think about BB&T and SunTrust, among others. So this is a new entity, very strong. They will give you, they actually have a minimum credit line of $5,000. They can go in some cases all the way to $100,000, and they lend to folks with fair credit. Not a problem, okay? And when you think about Truist, also think about getting back to them as soon as possible. And one thing we love, they also have some kind of flexibility. So they have the unsecured line of credit, but they also have the Truist Ready Now credit line. This is for overdraft or unforeseen expenses, okay? But the lines are smaller though. They go from $300 to $7,500. Another player that we love is TD Bank. So TD Bank has been around for a while, as you know. And the cool thing here is they are very generous. So you can use their line of credit for anything you can think about in home improvements, large purchases, unexpected expenses, whatever it is. Okay, and their loan amount go from $20,000 to $50,000. So if you're looking for a smaller loan amount, I mean not a loan amount, line. If you're looking for a smaller line of credit, you don't want to go to TD because their minimum is 20 grand. But if you're going for something big, yeah, this is the bank you want to consider. Okay, and the APR is very decent. You can have an APR as low as 8.5%. This is really good. And the monthly payment can be as low as $500, okay? And this is really good. And what we love with the TD Bank, again, is that in the last few years, they have been growing like crazy. And this is a bank that's really, really kicking ass. Wonderful. I want to talk to you about another player. So, folks, just to contextualize today's conversation, I'm talking to you about a bank personal line of credit for fair credit. How do you get a large amount fast and easy? So we are talking about the third element here, which is you need to shop for lenders. You need to know the lenders who basically cater to the kind of audience you are in. Okay, so we have PNC, US Bank, Truist, TD Bank, and now we have Fifth Third Bank, another solid player. And we love the fact that they are very generous in their line of credit. Again, they will give you unsecured lines of credit. Okay, they are very generous because their lines go from $5,000 to a whopping $100,000, and we're talking about unsecured. Folks, think about that. Unsecured $100,000, and in some cases, they gave you a 5-year draw period followed by a 10-year repayment period. So the draw period, again, this is the period where you just take the money from the line of credit, and that repayment period is exactly what it says. What it means, you have to repay the line of credit, okay? And the APR is really good. APR goes from 5.75 to 7.25%. We think that the Fifth Third is an underestimated player in this field, and this is a great player. If you qualify, if you are in an area that they cover, I will strongly advise you to actually open a line of credit with them, okay? And beside the unsecured line of credit, they also offer a secured line of credit. Here, the line amounts are higher, or larger, if you will, $5,000 to $500,000. Wonderful. And they have 20-year draw period with balance due at maturity. Okay. Now, let's talk about timing. Yeah, I mean, you're probably sitting there, you're wondering, I want a line of credit, I have fair credit. Okay. But have you thought about timing? Because it's important. First of all, when we talk about timing, we're thinking about two things. First, when to use a personal line of credit, and number two, when to ask for one. Okay, so let's talk about when to use a personal line of credit. You can use a line of credit for a lot of things. For home renovations, you have a lot of stuff happening in the house, and you don't have cash. You probably have irregular income right now. Maybe you are in financial straits. Things are not really happening the way you want things to happen, so you need extra cash. All right. So you're not really, and you don't want to have a personal loan because your credit, say, is already saddled with that. And the thing is, you want to diversify your credit mix. You want to have a larger credit mix, a deeper credit mix. So you can use a personal line of credit for home renovations, seasonal cash flow, medical expenses. Yeah, I mean, we all know how medical expenses have pushed a lot of folks in this country to bankruptcy. You don't want that to happen to you. So if you are able to get a personal line of credit to sort of smooth out the temporary gaps that you have in your liquidity, go ahead and do that. Okay, boss? And so that's the first thing. So when we talk about timing, we're talking about when to ask for a personal line of credit. So when to ask for it. And one thing you need to do is that, how do you convince the lender that this is a good time? Well, you can actually ask for a personal line of credit when things are good. In other words, you got a job. I mean, you got promoted at work. You got a raise. Or let's say your FICO score went up because something happens or whatever, you did something. So what I'm trying to say is there has to be proper timing when you're asking for a line of credit to actually increase your odds of approval. Now, one thing we need to understand here is that there are drawbacks to personal lines of credit. You might have higher interest rates, variable rates, and this line of credit could lead to more debts if you haven't planned things around. This is why we put so I'm giving you a formula, and the formula says that you need to plan things carefully. Money, 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 money. It's important to understand that a line of credit will give you money to sort of smooth out whatever, as I said earlier, the temporary chasms that you have in your liquidity, right? That's really understandable. But what do you plan on? What do you plan to do with that money, and how do you plan on paying it back? Those are questions I want you to think about. Now, if you want to get a large bank personal line of credit for fair credit, you better really have a clear idea of your credit score. Okay, you need to check your credit score regularly. This is important because the bank is going to do it anyway. I mean, they're covering their ass. If you're asking them for a personal line of credit, the first thing they will do is to check your credit score. I mean, you're getting a hard pull. So it's just a lot better that you check this beforehand so you have a clear idea of what's really going on. And I'm not just telling you to check it just to check it. No, don't be passive here, okay? You want to be active. You want to take action. So if you see a problem, you will fix it right away. This is what I call a proactive checking. Okay, so you want to check your credit score regularly because you want to know where you stand. You want to keep your credit in good shape. You probably currently have a fair credit score, okay, but this is just temporary. 3 months from now, 6 months from now, 1 year from now, you will be in a good category. You might be in a good category. So it takes work. And you want to make sure that your credit information is accurate. This is one of the reasons why you check your credit score regularly. And you will not be surprised at the outcome of your applications because you have a clear idea of already what's going to happen. And you can get insight into what actions hurt and help your credit score. Okay. And also what we love is that when you check your credit score regularly, something really, really magical happens. You can respond to changes quickly. And you can even know when you might qualify for better credit card offers, right? If you currently have a credit card with an APR that sucks, chances are if you're checking your credit score regularly, then you have a clear vision about what you might qualify for. And where do you check your credit score? A lot of places. You can go to annualcreditreport.com. This is a free website that was mandated by Congress. And you can check your 3 credit reports there from Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion. You can go to myfico.com. You can go to Nerd Wallet. You can go to Wallet Hub. You can go to Credit Karma. There is a constellation of places you can check your credit score for free. And I mentioned that, for free. You're not paying. Don't get into the habit of paying for it unless you have money to throw out. You don't want to pay for for checking your credit score. You don't have to. I'll be right back right after this. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back, folks, to another section of the Awesome Sort of Kiwi Show. We are still having a conversation about bank personal lines of credit for fair credit. How do you qualify for one large amount, quick and easy? I want to talk to you about your DTI and your NPR. This is important. So when we talk about, so you're just sitting there, right? So you want to have, you really want to have a line of credit, a large line of credit. Okay. What is your DTI? But before I even talk about the DTI or the debt to income ratio, what is your NPR with the institution that you want to lend from? You want to borrow from, rather. Have you built a relationship with the bank? Yeah. Talk to me about that. Don't just walk into a branch and say, I want a line of credit and I have no account with you guys. I'm going to open an account, but right now I don't have an account. Well, you're just wasting your time, boss. You're wasting your time. You are wasting your time. Think about it. This is country logic. This is what I call country logic. You need to have a relationship with the lender so that when it comes times to lending to you, they will be more inclined to do so. You don't build a relationship on day one. You build a relationship before, okay? So it's important. So when we talk about building a multi-product relationship with the bank, we are talking about several things. Your history with the bank, the variety of deposit accounts, and the amount deposited. Okay, what is the ka-ching you currently have with the bank? It's not just about, I have one account and I've had one account for 10 years. What do you have in that account, boss? You have $5. What is your average daily balance? $5, $10? No, come on, man. You can't just be like walking around and just hoping to get a 50,000 line of credit if you have been depositing $5,000. I mean 5,000. No, I mean not 5,000. $5 or $500. No. My point is the amount of deposits and the flow of history with the bank must be proportionate to what you are asking for, proportional to what you're asking for in terms of line of credit. So that's for the relationship. Contact the banker. Talk to the banker, okay? Discuss your liquidity needs, short-term and long-term. And then think about your DTI. DTI stands for debt to income ratio. This is the total of your monthly debt payments divided by your gross monthly income, and you multiply that by 100, okay? So for example, if your gross monthly income is $10,000 and you pay, let's say, your total debts are $4,000 every month, your DTI is 40%. DTI is always taking care of the gross income, pre-tax income, okay? And DTI is important, so you want to keep it at below 30% if possible. Big decision time. What is your DTI? I want you to talk to me right now about your DTI, trying to calculate it, okay? Because DTI plays an important role on your credit risk. In other words, the way you are seen, the kind of credit you represent to the lender. And a good DTI, as I said, it has to be below 30%, 33%, 30%. Now let's talk about eligibility, folks. We are still having a convo about the bank personal line of credit for fair credit. And you need to ask yourself whether you are eligible, because every bank has their own criteria, right? They have, you probably, if you go to PNC versus US Bank versus Choice versus TD Bank versus Fifth Third, they have different criteria, but there are a few criteria. There are general standard criteria, okay? Your credit score and history. So we're talking today about someone who has a fair credit score, not a problem, okay? And what is your income? They will ask you for your income. They will ask for your debt to income ratio. I just talked about that. Your collateral, if any. In other words, if you want to secure the line of credit, because a secured line of credit is cheaper than an unsecured line of credit. That makes sense. And you want to think about the origination fee. Are you willing to pay the origination fee? Because in some lines of credit will charge you between 1 and 3%, in some cases 8% of the total loan amount, depending on factors such as your credit score and the line amount, okay? And when we talk about the typical personal line of credit documents, you're talking about the loan application itself, because a line of credit uses also a loan application. It's the same form for loans and lines of credit, okay? And they want you to provide proof of identity, your employer and income verification. So we're talking here about you providing pay stubs, returns, W-2s and 1099s, bank statements, and your employer contact information, okay? And remember that you need to, if you are self-employed, because if you don't have a 9-to-5 and you just your own boss, then the lender will rely on bank statements, 1099 forms, and income tax returns. Either way, they will have to prove your income, okay? And you need to be able to provide proof of address. In other words, they want to have, the bank wants to make sure that you have a stable living condition. So you might have to provide a recent utility bill, a copy of your lease or other rental agreement, voter registration card or proof of home rental or auto insurance that lists your address. Your address must be listed prominently, okay? Prominently, very important. All right, folks, this is it for today's conversation. I was really talking to you about bank personal line of credit for fair credit, how to get a large one fast and easy. I talked to you about preparation, the basics of the line of credit itself. The lenders, the big players in this field, we have PNC, US Bank, Truist, TD Bank, Fifth Third. Think about timing. Think about your credit score. Think about DTI and NPR. Think about the eligibility requirements. Thank you so much for your attention, folks. I will see you another time, but until then, remember, stay marvelous.